God of War transported us from the shores of Greek mythology to the icy, treacherous lands of Norse mythology. But how much of what we see in Kratos' new journey aligns with the real Norse myths? Let's dive deep into the lore, comparing the game's interpretations with the ancient tales that inspired them.
I know you're not the god you once were. And now is your chance to prove it.
Return my son, or you may meet the god I once was.
And what kind of god is that, Kratos?
In God of War 2018, we see lots of stunning visuals of the Nine Realms. From Midgard to Asgard, the game captures these mythical worlds beautifully. But how accurate is this depiction? The realms in Norse mythology are interconnected by Yggdrasil, the world tree. While the game visually captures Yggdrasil, the mythology describes it as a huge tree, and it isn't really seen in many myths at all. God of War uses the Nine Realms to craft a more intimate narrative, adding unique geography and lore not explicitly found in the myths, like Sindri's house, or Freya's home, or even Alfheim. In the game, going from realm to realm is a pretty big deal. Kratos uses mystical gates to go through Yggdrasil, whereas in the Norse myths, you could more than likely just walk. The stories in the Poetic Edda suggest that it may take you a very long time, but you could potentially just walk from realm to realm. So technically, if you really knew where you were going, you could just take a hike over to Asgard. Let's break down some of the characters in God of War versus what we know about them in actual myths. In Baldur's first appearance, he seems to be somewhat underwhelming. We see him beating on Kratos' door, and when Kratos goes to open it, we see a small, skinny, average-looking man compared to Kratos. It's only when Baldur punches Kratos across his entire house that we realize this guy means business. Baldur is an invulnerable antagonist driven by his need to feel something. In the Norse myths, Baldur is beloved by all the gods for his kindness and beauty. All we really know for sure about Baldur's physical appearance is that he's extremely attractive. I feel Baldur being introduced in the way that he was in God of War 2018 really sets the tone about how the gods in the Norse myths will be depicted from this point forward. The game reimagines Baldur's invulnerability as almost like a curse, fueling his character arc. Freya is a powerful Vanir goddess. She's an ally to Kratos and estranged from her son Baldur until his eventual death in God of War 2018. As for a physical description, we don't really have one. All we really know is that Freya is a beautiful woman. Freya, often associated with love and fertility, is less vengeful in the myths. The game's depiction intertwines elements of Freya and Frigg, who are often depicted as the same goddess in media and sometimes in the Norse myths. While Freya and Frigg are similar in ways, it is to my understanding that at most times they are two separate goddesses, but in others they are kind of depicted as the same. God of War does seem to combine most of their stories into one. The world serpent of Midgard is depicted as so large that it can wrap around the entirety of the world and bite its own tail, as seen in the God of War logo. I personally love the depiction of Jörmungandr in God of War. I feel Sony Santa Monica did a phenomenal job at capturing the true magnitude of the world serpent. I also loved how they showed Atreus/Loki technically giving life to Jörmungandr in God of War Ragnarok. As Atreus was way too young to actually give birth to a giant snake, God of War played into that, and it found a way to work around that. In the mythological version, Jörmungandr is depicted as a giant snake or worm. His name vaguely translates to giant monster. He is the son of Loki, destined to fight Thor during Ragnarok. While his birth is different in Norse myths, God of War found a great way to implement this considering how Loki is Kratos' son Atreus in the game.
The ball!
Thor is first introduced in the post-credit scene of God of War 2018. We don't get a full view of him, but we know whose hammer that is. We then pick up in God of War Ragnarok. After a couple of years, we finally see Thor in his full glory. In my opinion, this is where we truly see a god that looks intimidating compared to Kratos. This is also, in my opinion, the most accurate depiction of Thor we've gotten in all of pop culture, based on what we know about him. For the mythological version of Thor, we can assume that he would most likely be huge. We know that he was able to down multiple kegs of mead and feast far more than the average man in one sitting. We also know he has long red hair and can make his hammer, Mjolnir, appear as a pendant around his neck if he were to appear in a human version. So considering that, I'd say God of War did a way better job than other versions of Thor that we have seen in media. After being mentioned time and time again, we finally see Odin make his first real appearance in God of War Ragnarok. We see him also appear to be an average man. He wears an eye patch and a cloak, which is pretty close to what we know about his mythological version. Out of all the gods in Norse mythology, Odin is the one with most myths explaining what he actually does appear to be. It is said that Odin can appear in human form as an old man with an eye patch, a dark cloak, and long, grayish hair. Odin got his eye patch from sacrificing his eye to Mimir in order to gain divine wisdom. Odin was absolutely obsessed with preventing his fate in Ragnarok, and I think God of War's creative spin on Odin's story was extremely well done. One of the most compelling aspects of Norse mythology is its preoccupation with fate. This theme resonates deeply in God of War. The Norse seem to have believed in an inescapable fate, with events like Ragnarok, the end of the world, predetermined by prophecy. God of War integrates these ideas through the murals depicting Kratos and Atreus' destinies. However, the game also questions whether fate is truly immutable, adding an intriguing layer to the narrative.
Boy. Yeah. On the day you were born, I made 2 knives, mixing metals from my home and from this land. One for myself, and when you were ready, one for you. Today is that day.
So I'm a man now. Like you?
No. We are not men. We are more than that. The responsibility is far greater. And you must be better than me. Understand? Say it.
I will be better.
The power of this weapon, any weapon, comes from here. But only when tempered by this. By the discipline, the self-control of the one who wields it. That is where the true strength of a warrior lies. You must never forget that. Good then. Come.
In my opinion, God of War masterfully interprets and visualizes a lot of what is seen and what isn't seen in Norse mythology, with its own creative storytelling. While it takes liberties, these choices deepen the emotional resonance of the story, creating something both familiar and refreshingly unique. I want to end this video off by saying that while I've always been very interested in Norse mythology, pretty much my whole life, I'm not an expert, so if any of you guys feel like I got something wrong, or was slightly off about anything, feel free to let me know down in the comments below. I also wasn't fully able to cover all of the differences seen in the characters of God of War and their mythological counterparts, because this video would take a really long time to put out if I did. But if you guys do want to see me cover the other characters, then let me know down in the comments below as well. And what's your favorite mythological twist in God of War? But anyways, thank you so much for watching my first real YouTube video, and stay tuned for so much more to come very soon.